everybody! How's it going, my fellow Homo sapiens? It's your boy, the legendary Hadou, and I'm doing a new segment called What Anime Am I Watching Now? And that anime is JoJo's. Disney board coming at you next! Alright. So, what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of talking about the anime, how I feel about it, and a few characters that I like. So, there is spoilers that's going to be in this, me just kind of ranting and just kind of talking and just having a basic conversation. So, buddy hit me up a few weeks ago and he says, hey man, I'm watching this new anime, you should check it out, it's JoJo's. I'm like, I heard about it. I guess I'll take a peek at it, and I took a peek at it and I got hooked. So, we open up with Jonathan. And what I really like about this is we start where they're kids and we work their way up. And not just that, we're introduced to our antagonist very early, Theo. Now, to talk a little bit about Theo, I can understand where Theo is. I understand why he's kind of evil, he's mad, he's bad. But at the same time, I felt like once Theo was adopted into the Joestar family, he sort of changed, but instead he hated Jonathan. He just really hated Jonathan guts. I mean, he looked at Jonathan, he was like, man, I hate people like that. But then I thought to myself, Theo, you're just like him now. You're rich. I mean, you're his equal. I could see if Theo was like a slave or something to Jonathan and the Joestars, but no, he was their equal. He was literally like their brother. And he did everything in his power to screw over Jonathan. Now, one thing I will say about Jonathan, he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman all the way through the series. He was someone who respected women. He went out his way to help people. So that's one thing I like. Now, Theo, he was just a very horrible individual. I mean, he stole Jonathan's girlfriend's first kiss. He tried to screw him over any way possible. Now, another character I kind of want to put a little bit of spotlight on is Speedwagon. I really like Speedwagon because Speedwagon reminds me of those characters from Boondocks. How you had those people in the background always making background noise, always talking. So you had Speedwagon always doing something like that, and it was really funny. He really gave that kind of that relaxed feeling and allow you to laugh a little bit. You know, you see Jonathan getting ready to fight, and Speedwagon's like, oh no, we've been bested. One away, Jonathan. You know, it's really, really funny. Now, for the powers, they was using something called hormone. To me personally, it sounds like a hamburger or something you eat, you know. But hormone was pretty interesting. But at the same time, I felt like it was somewhat underwhelming with the abilities. I was hoping to see much different hormone type of powers and things of that nature. But we got basic hormone abilities. And I guess when you look at a lot of other anime, you have like a lot of different cool powers, blowing up planets, things of that nature. Where here, you know, hormone really doesn't blow up planets, you know. It's all about breathing and kind of building up that hormone inside you. So once we get done with that first season, so we move to the next season and we focus on the new main protagonist, and that is Joseph. Now, Joseph was definitely different. He wasn't like this big gentleman and things of that nature. Now, one thing I will say about this series, when you first come in and you're introduced to Joseph, you're like, who is he? You know, at first I'm like, is he the son of Jonathan? Who is Joseph? But come to find out, Joseph is the grandson of Jonathan. I was like, why did we get a skip like that? Because I was confused, you know. It's like, we're in one season, and then we come here and his grandson. I'm like, okay, so who's his father? So we get Joseph, and I think Joseph is awesome. I think Joseph is really cool. He has a different type of personality. He's really funny. He bounces around. He makes jokes. And the coolest things about him is he predicts what you're going to say next. You know, it's like, I predict you're going to say, I'm going to kick your ass, big head. And then the guy's like, yeah, I'm going to kick your ass, big head. And he's like, oh, whoa. You know, and I'm like, dude, just told you what you're about to say. Why did you repeat it? You know, he was really funny, but at the same time, he was smart. And I like that. Now, some of the characters I kind of want to focus on also is we do get to see an old Speedwagon. I thought that was pretty interesting. The old Speedwagon is more mature. He's no longer giving that background noise. The person that does the background noise kind of is a person called Smokey. At first, when I seen Smokey, I thought he was actually a white guy. It's because the shading. At first, I saw he was dark, and I was like, okay, is that a black person? Then the shading kicked in. I was like, okay, maybe it's just a white guy. Until later on, we get a part where they're getting into a restaurant, and one of the dudes like, hey, how can y'all let animals in here? And I was like, oh, okay, they must be referring to Smokey. Therefore, he's a black dude. Like, now I see it. So, Joseph was actually pretty cool. I really like Joseph. I think he was pretty badass. And we're introduced to something called the Pillar Man. And the Pillar Man, I mean, I don't know, was it just me? But when it comes down to JoJo's or JoJo Bizarre Adventures, I feel like the male characters are so flamboyant. Oh my goodness, I mean, boy, there's some borderline questionable stuff happening there.
Huh! So you must be the Pillar Man. Well, I'm Jamal J. Jimmy Hat Joestar, and I'm here to scrub you out.
Oh, Jamal Jonathan J. Jimmy Hat Joestar. Oh, I want your humble inside me.
What? Nah, man. You done fucked the mood.
Don't pussy out, nigga.
Shut up, Speedwagon.
I can't wait for this battle so you can taste my bones.
You know what? I'm just let you do what you got to do. Ain't signed up for this. I'm stepping out of this fight.
But we're introduced to the Pillar Man, and I'll admit there's a few Pillar Man that I like, but that flamboyant stuff is crazy, man. I mean, boy, some of those scenes, like when Joseph pulled out the balls and he was like, yo, we getting ready to do this. I was like, what? Oh man, like he had these metal balls that he put his hormone in to do little tricks. I thought that was really awesome. But there was another character in there that kind of caught me off guard. It was a German Nazi. This was actually the first time I seen like Nazis shown in a different type of light. At first they came off as really assholes and just pieces of shit. But you had this one character that kind of worked his way up. And what I mean about that, he came off like, yeah, he's just really garbage. This is perfectly normal for Nazis. But then it was like, he showed some courage, and then you thought he was dead, then he came back, then he got killed, and he came back. And I was like, damn. Then it was at points, it was like, damn, I really hope this dude's gonna pop up, because at that point, you know, he was cool at that point. You know, he had half machine in his body, and so I was like, wow, this dude is really kicking ass. Now, finally, we get to the next season, and we get to Jojuro. And oh man, I think personally, to be honest, this is my favorite part of the season so far. I really like Jojuro. And so when we look at the personalities, you look at the first Joestar, he was a gentleman. We look at the next Joestar, he was more of a kind of joker. You know, he played around, he had fun. And now we look at Jojuro, he's the quiet, silent type that just pummels you in the ground. But what I really like about this season here is they changed things up. Things like hormone is not something we really focus on anymore. Matter of fact, I don't remember anybody saying much about the hormone. We focus on something called a stand. Now, I admit, when I first heard about the stand, you know, it was like, Jojuro was like, I'm hunted by this ghost, you know what I'm saying? And his father was like, no, his grandfather was like, that's called a stand. I was like, stand? What? Really? Ugh. But as time goes on, you start to love the stands. I'm like, oh my goodness, because what I really like about the stands, it gives each character individuality. Now, what I really like about this season also, it's not just the stands, but it's their group. They actually have like this group they go out with, and these selected characters, these different characters have different stands and different abilities, so they're all quite different. So with Jojuro group, you have Jojuro, you have Joseph, you have Pedroff, you have Aldal, and you have Kararing? I'm gonna be honest. Kararing, he had a few spotlights. I really didn't care too much for him. Aldal, I really liked him at first. I felt like he was one of my favorite characters in the series because a lot of people look towards him. He was one of the most powerful characters in the group. He was really badass. He kicked a lot of ass. But not just that, I mean, he flew the planes, he flew the cars, he had the predictions. So he was just an overall great character. Polnareff, how did I really feel? At first, I really didn't care too much for Polnareff. I felt like he was very underwhelming. I didn't care too much for him. But after they killed off Aldal for a small period of time, Polnareff really worked up the chain. I felt like once Aldal was dead, they was able to focus on a lot of the other characters that wasn't getting a lot of spotlight. And Polnareff, for me, really rose up the chain. And once he rose up so high in the chain that he became my favorite character. And the main reason is because he's always getting in trouble. He always making me laugh. And he's always trying to get the chicks, you know? So he's really, really funny. I really enjoy him. But not just that, you know, he's a pretty decent fighter. Now, for his stand, I really don't care too much for it, but, I mean, him as a character is really, really awesome. But we do get some other things here. What also I like about it is the antagonists. The antagonists are really, really awesome. You have so many cool stands out there. Now, one of my favorite stands is going to be the baby stand. I think it was Death. That was awesome because he could kill you in your dream and you couldn't summon your stand unless you went to sleep with your stand out. That was awesome. I really love that. Who else did I like? I like the brothers, and it's not because of their stand. The brothers one, I think, had like a book that predict the future, and the taller brother had something like his stand allowed him to change his face. But it wasn't that their stand what I liked, because their stance was really kind of garbage. I mean, the younger brother stand was pretty awesome. But what I really liked about this, it was a little bit different from all the other bad guys because they were just funny. It's like everything they did, it failed, but it failed in a funny way. It was just awesome. It had tears in my eyes, and that's one thing I really loved about them. And then finally, we get towards the middle of the season, and we get a new character added into the season, and that's called Iggy. It's the dog. Right now, I'm not really feeling Iggy. You know, I like the main cast we have, but Iggy, right now, I know Iggy's gonna do something special. He has to. But I do like Iggy interaction with Ponarath. I think they have the best interaction. It is awesome because Iggy jumps on Ponarath's face, he farts in his face, he pulls out his hair. I love that. But Iggy as a character right now, I'm not really feeling the dog. I feel like I got to see this dog do something to really move up the ranks. But right now, I'm still watching the anime. I'm really loving it. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. But that's all I have for you right now. Please let me know, have you watched JoJo's yet? And what you think about the anime? Please rate, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps the channel. Thanks for watching. Matane.